Wealth is a mindset. And so much of what people I think get wrong about money and about building something lasting is that it's so much more than what you have in the bank. And I feel like people look at my situation and because they don't know the hard spots, they see the highlights. They're like, wow, it must be really easy to make money on your money now.
I think something that you told me a long time ago that has always helped me feel very neutral about money is that money is a tool. So thinking about it like that, because I too have recently gone from hustling and trying to make ends meet in New York City to kind of bumbling around the East Coast to finally just kind of settling and deciding to acquire some sort of stability. But I think I wouldn't have had the mindset of setting things aside or being able to save in general if I hadn't just thought of money as this thing that can help me.
You were made to do more in life than just pay bills and get by. The key to even more success? Get your assets together. With generational growth, we're not just talking about wealth. This is about building your version of an incredible life in every area that truly matters: mind, body, business, and self-care. What if I told you there's a life-changing opportunity to help yourself, even now, and especially now? I'm KK Hart, an expert on being both well and wealthy. I've spent decades building what's basically my own investment fund, emphasis on fun, acquiring and growing unique brands with capital, partnerships, and strategic support. I'm here to empower you to go further faster with an anti-hustle, no burnout path to getting richer and more financially fit for investing, acquisition, and growing everything you own. Let's grow.
I think so much of what I do is thinking and overthinking about things. Hello, it's me. And I think what I really wanted to do with this is have a very open conversation with you about what it means to have generational growth. And actually, there's pieces of my story that you know, and there's pieces of my story that you don't know that you're going to find out today for the first time. So, let's start with this idea of money. What is money to you? What is real money to you?
Real money or money in general?
Yeah, girl, because there's a difference. How about real money?
Dollar bills.
Yeah.
Green.
Okay.
Old presidents.
Old presidents. Interesting. And then what would wealth be for you?
Wealth, I think, is sort of intangible now. Money, real hard dollars, to me, doesn't mean the same thing as acquiring a vast set of wealth, because I feel that kind of lives in the cloud, you know?
Interesting that you say that. I think so much of what I've learned over 20 years is exactly that, dispelled into, the one sentence that you gave. It's wealth is a mindset, actually. And so much of what people I think get wrong about money and about building something lasting is that it's so much more than what you have in the bank. And it's also so much more than what I think you spend. It is in the minutia of your cash flow in and your network and your ability to really double down on those things.
So can I ask a question really early on?
Hell yes.
So when you say wealth is a mindset, what do you mean by that? Because I feel I hear, and a lot of people my age hear, wealth is a mindset from people who have already acquired wealth, and that's just really easily dismissible. Because it's well, yeah, wealth is your mindset because you're living in wealth, but I'm not going to magically think myself into money. So what do you mean when you say that?
Oh, that's such a great point. So I think for me, the mindset of who you are and what you value, the meaning of life, to me, precedes the actual money in the bank.
The meaning of life is crazy.
I know. Because if the meaning of life is money, just insert influential person that you've seen blow up their life, right? And so that's why I start off with this idea that wealth is truly a mindset, because I know a lot of very well-known, very well-capitalized people that are poor. And I also know the opposite. I know and have heard about over, at least the last 20 years, people who've had very menial living, right? They don't always make the most, but they live these beautiful lives. And I think they're wealthy. As an example, I think that my mom, living underneath her means all these years, having money put aside for retirement, and being able to say basically F you to her job the second she was ready to stop, even when she didn't believe that there would be a day for that, is wealth. And I think living every day in her retirement the way she does, I mean, exercising for a living basically now.
She will outlive all of us.
Literally. And being able to buy like any expensive foods that she wants to help her longevity, I think that's real wealth.
So you're saying goals. What you're saying is if you set goals for yourself, then if your goal is to, yes, acquire wealth, but you have a goal outside of just having money that grounds you. So you're not just thinking of wealth in dollars anymore.
It's a value set.
And then you feel better when you do acquire that wealth, even if it's not millions of dollars.
Yeah,
it's what you need. It's what you are aiming towards.
100%. I don't think money makes anyone who they are. I think money is a magnifier of who you really were all along. Mm-hmm. So when I think about that mindset, well, let's go back. I think I'll give you more insight on this. When we came to America, I basically was in a family of a single mom, 2 older siblings, significantly older than me. And so within a few years, the household shifted again, and I became the only kid in the home. So basically grew up like an only child, right? And
I would have known nothing about that.
I mean, and I think what happened was I had a front row seat to my mom's glow up. And that glow up was equal parts strategy, proactivity, and then really it was her wealth building journey. She started all over again when she came here. And I remember being at the decision room for every major opportunity in her life, buying cars, ultimately buying the house she lives in today, and navigating money decisions with her very early, mostly because I was there. I just happened to be there. And I think I was a curious kid in that area. So I think very early on, I didn't have a scarcity mindset around things or money. I knew that hard work paid off, and I knew that education was like a piece of that hard work that I needed to focus on. And I watched, I believe my mom with a very crummy hand in life, not only start over, but start over better. And it put me on the right track a lot faster than I think my siblings and my peers, or at least peers that started off like me, because I had a front row seat to really smart money decisions. And I think I understood what those negative money decisions were because she had the hindsight that drove her next steps.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think I get that, yeah. I've always sort of wondered how, because I know you came here from Trinidad at a lot younger age than my mom or your other sister. And I've always wondered how that shaped your upbringing in a way that is different to theirs. Because cognitively you were in a different place at the time. So you just absorbed different things.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think this tells you everything about me. I never thought of that. I never thought about the fact that we lived in different homes until very recently, maybe 6 years ago. And your mom literally said to me, yeah, you had a totally different life than I did.
Yeah, of course.
You had a different parent, even though it was the same person. You had a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And while you say, of course, that sucker punched me.
Oh.
Okay, to be fair, I was in the middle of an argument. So
fair enough.
It was not said eloquently. It was said lucky you, bitch. And I think what I learned now looking back is I got the best of my mom at a time where she was really able to give her best.
But she was growing.
She was growing. Yeah. She was not in fight or flight. She was not making weird decisions out of a place of scarcity
she
or
wasn't in survival
struggle.
mode
She
anymore.
was no longer in survival mode. And so Girly was doubling down on herself and investing in herself in a way that I think I had a front row seat to. And it really encouraged me to think about, what do you really get with money? And I think the number one thing I think about is access. Is we lived in a neighborhood where we were the other side of the tracks to a very wealthy area, old money. And that made me around people who had access to so much. But what was so odd to me is that I never felt less than. I honestly felt like we were the same. It doesn't matter if it was the doctor's kid or the very famous pop star manager's kid. We were all on the same level playing field. This is what I mean about wealth being a mindset. For me, I never looked at myself as the poor kid from the other side of the tracks. Even when there are times I think I could have said, I had actions that showed that I may have felt that way.
Yeah.
I hid certain things about myself or about where I lived, or, we would go for bike rides and I'd be nervous if someone saw me leaving our neighborhood. And I never really correlated that with why I felt that way. I think I knew I lived on the other side of the tracks, but I also had this like, but I'm here and I deserve to be here. I deserve to be at this, A-rated school. I deserve a good life.
Yeah. I think I relate to that. I mean, I grew up in a city and not like a suburb, so it's more of a melting pot just like by default. But Cambridge is very like, you have $1 million homes next to Section 8 housing.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like class blending just from like kindergarten on. And like you would have some kids who would peel off into private schools and stuff, but for the most part, because Cambridge is a pretty educationally driven city, people would stay in the public schooling system. So it didn't really like dawn on me that like some of my closest friends lived in entirely different worlds than I did until much later in my life.
Yeah.
I guess my question for you is like, how did growing up, seeing your mom go from like this person who was like making weird decisions because she needed to survive and she needed to like just bring herself to a different place to really like living with her while she was growing, empower and change your mindset around wealth?
Yeah. Interestingly, I think it gave me a very clear path to success, and it was education. It was like, look, if I can put a lot into what I learn, and this sounds unhealthy, it's not hustle culture, but if I can do more than I even know, the world is really my oyster. That's what I saw. It's like I watched my mom literally go from cleaning people's floors to a 6-figure job in a hospital with in her mind, it was like amazing. She had a uniform every day and, work with doctors. And I watched her manage money so well that felt like it stretched 3x.
Yeah.
So I think it made me realize that wealth is actionable and it's not just something you trip and fall into, which is funny because I grew up with trust fund babies. But it also meant that wealth needed to be managed.
Yeah.
And so when I think about how management of wealth has gotten distorted these days, there's accidental millionaires and people who've kind of invested or, were given wealth. I think the truth about wealth is not just that it's a mindset, but it's an action point. As I always say, get your assets together. It's like, get your money together, get your opportunities together. Those are all assets in and of themselves. And what I've watched over the years as the money in the bank grew was the idea that I didn't need to match that money with a lifestyle or with a idea of who I was supposed to be. And so, the saying is true, more money, more problems for a lot of people. I quoted arguably the greatest rap star of all time. But I watched a lot of people go through that. The easier money flows in, I think the more challenging it was for people to keep money and to grow that money. And that's real wealth.
I think something that you told me a long time ago that has always helped me feel very like neutral about money is that money is a tool.
Yeah.
So like thinking about it like that, because I too have recently gone from like hustling and trying to make ends meet in like New York City to like kind of bumbling around the East Coast to finally just kind of settling and deciding to acquire some sort of stability and like savings. And now like sort of in a place of like, well, what do I do with that savings? Where do I go from here? Because just saving on its own is fine, but like, I don't think that's where the bigger building blocks of wealth exist.
Yeah.
But I think I wouldn't have had the mindset of like setting things aside or being able to save in general if I hadn't just thought of money as like this thing that can help me.
Yeah.
It's not like attached to status or who I am as a person or who I have to be or who I have to present as or what I have to acquire. It just like is a thing that I can have and that can help me if I know how to use it correctly.
That's a mindset.
Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting you're saying this. I really believe that all of this intersects with the meaning of life, because if money is a tool, what do you do with your tool, right? How do you utilize that to make your life better and other people's lives better? And how do you leverage that tool so that you are not a cog on a wheel forever? How do you stop trading, time for money? I think it's the number one thing that I stumbled into very early on. that was the game changer for me. It wasn't just about the paycheck flowing in. It was like, what do I do with that paycheck, right? That's cash flow. That's not net worth, right? So it's like, what do I do with the money inflow? And then how do I let that inflow grow? Oh, and that rhymed. So that to me is the shift in wealth mindset that most people don't have, that they really should have.
Yeah.
Because it's really what worked for me. It was like being a fundamentalist about the true purpose of money and being very stringent with how I spent it and how I thought about it, and just being rigorously fiscally conservative. It's crazy. There's a lot of limiting beliefs, I think, that we treat as money conversations without realizing it. Like I always think about the guy who shows up in a yellow Lamborghini.
For sure. Yeah.
He has a story. He has a money story too. Like
Absolutely he does.
He did not just choose that color or that car for a reason. And I think it's also true, and this may ruffle some feathers, but the gal who has to have like the extensions and the lashes and the nails and like all the things to make herself appear more successful, the vanity metrics of life. And there's a money story there too.
And I also think like those can be goals for you, but I think then you have to think about like, is this goal serving me in the long term? It could serve you now, depending on what you're doing with your life, where you're at, what industry you're in. Like maybe if you're an aspiring actress, perhaps that could help you, or a model, maybe that's something you want to invest in. But like taking a good look at like yourself, where you are, where you want to be, and what goals that money can help you achieve. Because I think oftentimes we equate, especially like my generation equates money with just like frivolous spending or like evil. So like people just think like, oh, if you get more money, obviously you must have like done something really bad to get there. And I feel like that's only true maybe 1% of the time.
Fraction of the time.
Yeah. I think if you're like a billionaire overnight, you've probably done something pretty awful to attain that amount of wealth like that quickly, or just in general. But I think if you go from like, you know, I raised my credit score 100 points in a year, and people looked at me sideways for that. And I was like, well, I didn't do anything other than just get smart about the way that I managed my wealth. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing that should have a negative connotation on it about that. But I think because of the way that we are so aware that the people who hold the most wealth in the world do so much damage with that wealth, we are afraid to acquire wealth ourselves because we don't want to become the problem.
Can we please keep going with this? Let's talk about how you raised your credit score. Talk about a what is money, wealth is a mindset opportunity, right? Let's talk about why you did it and kind of what's happened since.
Well, I mean, the real driving factor of why I did it is I didn't want to live with the people I was living at the time. I didn't like the living situation I had set up or the roommates that I had. And I knew that I was kind of done with living with roommates in general.
Everybody gets to that point.
Yeah. And because I think I had moved back to Boston from Fort Myers, and I was living on my own in Fort Myers because I was working for a theater that was paying for my apartment. And so I got a taste of that and then went back and was like, I want that, but like for myself. I don't want someone to fund that for me.
Can you just say that again?
I don't want someone to fund that for me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fund yourself.
Thank you.
That's a t-shirt, bitch. I don't know.
Yeah. I was waiting tables. I still am kind of waiting tables.
Which is the best money I ever made.
It's pretty sick, actually.
Literally.
And I had a bunch of money saved, and I was like, well, I could probably like maybe put a down payment on like a car or like pay like first, last security brokers, whatever it is. But I was like, that's going to serve me for right now. And also I know that with those things that I want, I need to build credit first. Yeah. And that was something that I was lacking. So I was like, I have the cash flow now to acquire those things, but there's a missing piece. I need to prove that I can handle this money well. So instead, I used that money to pay off all the credit card debt that I had at the time. And then open other credit cards, like secured accounts, where I would put up my own money as collateral for the amount of credit I was taking out. And I just got really anal about paying that off all the time. Like I used my credit card as a debit card.
Love it.
Where like
Still do.
anything that I would normally buy on a debit, I would buy on credit and then I would just pay it off immediately. And doing that over the course of like 8 months skyrocketed my score after not caring about it for years. Because the way that credit scores are set up, if you have a really bad one, it is so easy for you to build that credit.
Wow, I don't think I ever knew that. I never had a bad one.
That was one of the first things that I learned, is that like if you have a really bad credit score and you start making improvements, it will clock that and then it will go up exponentially. Like now my credit is fine, but it doesn't go up as much as it went back then, even though I'm doing the same things.
Okay, I have an analogy. It's like when they say the heavier you are, the faster you can lose the weight.
Like that. Yeah.
But it's really hard to lose the weight
Just
when
like
you're that heavy, because your lifestyle and your habits are all intertwined.
And also like when my credit was very low, it was like, oh, the things that you're doing are like not paying off your like credit card on time, which I could fix that pretty easily. And now it's like, all right, well, acquire real estate. I'm like, well, that's a little
stretch.
we gotta work on that one.
Can we go on a couple more dates first?
Yeah, but it's like different like levels in like a video game or something. Like the first couple are pretty easy, and then you have to work at the next few boss fights.
You're saying something that I think so many people need to hear, which is that there's hope no matter where their money situation is right now.
Yeah.
I feel like people look at my situation and because they don't know the hard spots, they see the highlights. They're like, wow, it must be really easy to make money on your money now.
For sure. For sure, yeah.
But what you're saying is, fix your limiting beliefs and get your wealth mindset to a place of action. And then like, it's actually pretty simple to make some money moves.
Yeah.
Wow, you made that seem so simple. And I love that you're saying it from a very personal place, because, someone could easily look at the room we're in today and the conversation we're having and say, well, that's a very privileged conversation to have. It must be nice to just talk about wealth being a mindset. But I think we're tangible and actionable about why we're doing this. And one thing I think about is those aspects of wealth that no one is talking about. Personal development is literally a wealth management strategy.
Yeah.
Changing your limiting beliefs, changing your actions around every aspect of your life. I always call it mind, body, business, self-care, career. Like those things have massive impact.
Yeah.
But it also feels really challenging when you're not in a good place.
But also, like, this is a privileged conversation, not because like we're both coming from very privileged backgrounds,
right,
but because privileged people talk about these kinds of things. Like wealthy people talk about money. Healthy people talk about exercise, talk about diet. Like,
interesting.
If you are not in a place that you want to be in, if you start talking about it with the people around you, you probably have a network that you didn't know you had access to, because everyone's so ashamed to talk about where they are. Like when I was on my credit score journey, I would talk to my friends.
You were in your credit score era?
Yeah, in my credit score era, I would talk to my friends about it. And a lot of them would be like, I'm actually really scared. I've never checked my credit score before. And I'd be like, well, let's do it together. And then we would look at it and I would be like, well, here's what I was doing. Maybe that will help. And then we check in about it. And like, it's not like I'm an expert on this or they're an expert on this. It's the half blind leading the half blind.
Yeah.
But it improved us and it got us curious and it got us talking to other people who know more than we do.
Wow. So there's like a whole community aspect to this. And I think about it right now. There's so many statistics about women in our, wealth transition era. There's big numbers around what's going to happen in the next 5 years, 10 years. Women are supposed to inherit the most amount of money, I think, ever. And there's, yeah, and I love that for us. But there's still this sentiment that I think if we don't get that right now, we are going to be frozen with all these assets. And I'm hearing that in private wealth groups right now. So like I'm speaking on stages where I'm talking about, here are the 3-4 things that I do with my money. It's way more than that. We'll talk about it. I still get people who come up and whisper to me, no matter how influential they are, no matter how much money they appear to have, that they're frozen with what to do with it.
And speak on that. Because I think I have a vague idea of what you mean by your money being tied up in assets.
Yeah.
But if I was a kindergartner, how would you explain that to me?
Okay. I feel like there's a whole other episode, bitch.
Or a 7th grader.
So let me give you a high level summary. Yeah. I believe that the first investment is really in our mindset, in our body, because you can't do anything if you're sick.
True.
And then it's in our education. And then lastly, it's in what you do with the money coming in. So I think the first thing I'd want to really dispel is this idea of like net worth. Net worth is complete bullshit. It is a calculation that doesn't make sense for people who are insecure. Ooh, that's harsh, but true. So when I think about really where money started making sense for me was that it's cash flow. And cash flow 2.0 is basically how can I make more money with my money? How can I be smart with where I spend my time, who I surround myself with? And those two things alone unlock a whole other network of success. You know, there's a saying, a lot of people say it, I don't know whose it is, but your network is your net worth.
Yes. And I think also that gets really misconstrued because I think people hear that and they're like, so I have to surround myself with a bunch of rich bitches. And it's like, no, I think you should surround yourself like in general with people who support you and want to, if not grow with you, at least see you grow.
Yeah.
Maybe like even if they're not ready to take that step themselves or it's scary to them or like they need to hold on to all of their cash right now for whatever reasons going on in their life, just surrounding yourself with people who like want you to make the best decisions for you, no matter what aspect of your life it is.
Oof.
I think that's what that saying means. Not like you need to surround yourself with people who are richer than you. You just need to surround yourself with people who want you to grow.
Yeah. So let's talk about my breakthrough moment then. I got a divorce.
Period.
We're done. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. And that's clear. Truly, because I think I was on a path where I was just starting to see my self-worth and my money grow. And that could have taken such a negative turn. Someone has said this to me before, and it's probably my mom, but the number one kind of most important decision you'll ever make is who you marry, who you surround yourself with. Show me your friends, and I'll show you who you are. And I took that so deeply after that experience and went kind of really deep down my behavioral science background to say, show me how you treat your mind and body, and I'll tell you where you're headed. And so when I got divorced, I didn't just divorce the problem. I divorced a whole other vision of myself. And I gave myself permission to be ambitious at a time when it was not trendy like it is now. And I made some really strategic bets on myself. So that was business and acquiring businesses, and going deep down the rabbit hole of what makes a business successful. Side note, it's money, it's cash, it's profit.
Sure.
And so growing profitable businesses for other people, I just thought, why not me? And I was so fiscally conservative, you know, aggressively, you know, fiscally conservative, which meant there was always money in the bank. So that was one. The other thing I did is I kind of radically chose the life that I wanted. I shifted who I surrounded myself with. I literally changed where I live. I changed the way I presented myself. I changed my name. And so that was a complete mindset up level and network shift that has brought me to where I am today. And as I go deeper, I think about this all the time. And it's different now. Before, it was like, I need to get where I need to go. Blinders on. I need to get the bag. I need to continue to grow.
Yes.
And now my entire vision is like, who can I bring with me? How can I partner? How can I collaborate? Who can I level up with? And you know what's crazy is that has brought so much more success.
And that's so nice.
Yeah.
Because I also think that where the negative notion of like having money comes from is so often like hoarding wealth.
Yes.
But like,
Say that.
if you have more tools, you can share more tools with other people.
That's right.
Why and who you share those tools with, that can be up to you. But if you only have 2 tools, you can't really make those choices as frequently or as fluidly as you may want to if you have 100 tools. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The Pentecostal pastors do a really good job of this. It's a weird aside.
For sure. I love being compared to Pentecostal pasters. Thank you so much.
That you. But it's true. They talk about this idea of like the prosperity gospel and the idea that, you know, that no matter what you believe, you are meant to be successful. But they also say like, without success, you can't help others.
Yeah.
Like you cannot give what you don't have.
Exactly.
And you cannot be what you don't see. And so this to me is the pinnacle of wealth, like being able to sit here and talk to you about what I've been doing and how I want to unlock for you your next step is a level of generational growth and generational wealth that I only wish other people to be able to do, because there's this mindset of like mine, me, and my,
that's
right?
the entire culture.
That is all of the culture, and all of the materialism is around that. Like I could buy a lot more expensive things. I could live a lot higher above my means than I do. But when I think about the impact of money, it is never about reaching that level of success. I'd rather live 3-4 layers under and have like true, lasting, permeable growth and wealth. And that's what I feel I've done these last couple of years. You know, becoming a mom through adoption is one piece of that. Being able to work together, my dream probably since you were like 14, and to be able to put you in rooms this week where I think you're going to be expanded and to cheer that on for you is just like
so
life.
Really, the thesis statement? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. My investment thesis.
Yeah, is that money is a tool for building community. And I think that's really interesting, because I think often we think that we find communities in places where we are all struggling, which that can be true. That can be where you find the community, but you don't have to lose the community just because you lose the struggle.
Yeah, and this has been my hope and my goal, actually, in literally talking about generational growth. I think the reason I wanted to come out of the trenches and to say something about it is I keep trying to have these conversations.
Yeah.
You know, I have 20-year friendships with 3, 4, 5 different people. And when I try to talk to them about what I'm doing with my money, it's amazing the resistance that
Well, it's kind of countercultural.
Apparently.
Yeah, because the whole idea about wealth in America is that you have it and you keep it and it's yours and you die with it.
Yeah.
It's not really a mainstream thing to say like, I have this and I want to share it. Hence the negative association with gaining wealth in the first place, because it makes you seem like you're inherently a selfish person, but that doesn't have to be true.
Yeah. And there's so much around this like women supporting women kind of rally cry right now, but I don't think women are supporting women if we keep it all to ourselves and only say it in private rooms.
Period.
Literally.
That's not support.
That's not support. Or like you tell everybody about the wins, but you don't tell them like exactly what you did to get there. You don't connect them to the person.
Yeah, you gatekeep.
You gatekeep the shit out of this in hopes that there's more for you, I guess.
Well, yeah, because that's just a different way of hoarding wealth.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a great way to close this first episode, which is to really consider the way your limiting beliefs kind of lead you to the life you want or the life you don't.
Fair.
I think let's give some actionable to-dos. You know, our whole reason for this is to...
Do you want to first be a little vulnerable?
Yeah, sure.
I saw that you wrote to say like 3 to 5 limiting beliefs that you personally have or had around money.
Sure.
So I thought perhaps share with the class.
I'll give 2.
Okay.
Because those are 2 really authentic ones. You know, number 1 is that I can't tell anybody about this, or they may not be happy for me.
That's when I learned. I didn't have it, but I learned it.
I think we both have learned that the hard way, which there are people that are going to pee on your journey.
Sure.
And I think identifying those people as fast as possible and wishing them well and away from you is a fantastic aspect
Heavy on the
of growth.
away from you.
Yeah. It's hard when they're closer than you can
That's
get rid
fair.
of, and
Yeah.
you can't always shake the skeleton.
Yeah.
But that's 1 for sure. And I would think number 2 would be that this is going to bring it all together. If the meaning of life is to live the best possible life, I don't want to be remembered just for the year I was born and the year I die. I'm accountable to that dash.
Yeah.
I'm accountable to what I do every day in the dash. And for me, that's helping other people do the impossible thing that I did.
You have something that says something like that on your office.
Yeah. I've had it for about 20 years.
Like, this is like, no way I'm meant to just come in this
Pay
earth
bills and
and
die. Yeah. My first ever assistant that worked for me, we had like a 15-year age gap. She was much older than me and had worked in finance, interestingly. And she said she saw that and thought of me because I was such a generous and thoughtful boss when I could have been like a tyrant.
Yeah.
And this was in the girl boss era where that was like kind of cool to like have an assistant.
Yeah.
You know?
Really cool to boss people around.
Yeah. And so she always gave me that as an unlock for me. There's no way I'm doing this just to pay bills and die.
Yeah.
And
That'd be so pointless.
yeah. And yet a lot of people do that.
Well, yeah, because I think we're told that it is meaningful. We're fed that it's meaningful, but like, what is the meaning in that? To just
think you're
put your
right.
money in someone else's pocket who you don't know, will never meet, and don't care about?
Correct.
No.
Yeah, materialism is the new it's sin right now. And I think it's permeating everything we do, from investments to thinking about ourselves and what we need versus our wants. And I think those limiting beliefs really can screw with us in ways that we can't almost fathom, because it happens slowly and insidiously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just becomes a part of our like belief structure.
For sure. Okay, so speaking of beliefs, let's end with you giving an idea of maybe some daily practices or monthly practices that you do as it relates to your wealth mindset.
Ooh, okay. The biggest one that I did, because I think the first step for most people is just saving. It's not the end goal, but you have to start somewhere, because you don't take risk if you don't feel like you have a safety net. So I think over the past few years, I have slowly built my safety net, and I am of a very big like set it and forget it mindset.
Love.
So like I went through all of my expenses, what I pay out in bills, what I owe every month or every 2 weeks, because I do it based on my paycheck, but you can do it by the month too. And how much I'm bringing in. And then I looked at what was left, and I went, okay, how much can I live on? Like not including like groceries, like that was all expenses that I counted, but like for like fun things. Because if you're not having fun, you're not going to stick with it.
Yeah.
So like, how much can I live on to like live the life that I want to live right now? And how much can I save to live the life I want to live in the future? And that amount that I can save has gotten bigger and bigger over the past couple of years. But like I started with it just like $50 out of every paycheck. Put that in a savings account. Don't touch it.
I love it.
And then from there, it went from like, you know, $100, couple $100, and then like, you know, opening a Roth IRA. But like those things didn't happen until I shifted the mindset of like, I can put this aside. I don't need to save this. I don't need to spend this.
Yeah.
And I think that no matter what it is, it could be $5 every month if that's all you can spare.
Yeah.
But just knowing that like you are able to keep that habit up is really validating when you're looking to build something that you can fall back on later on.
This is so interesting and such good advice, because I recently heard a story about a very high net worth individual that does not look at their accounts. They do not know the inflows and the outflows, and therefore they cannot figure out how much to put aside, because
that's horrifying.
I mean, it comes in as quickly as it goes out.
For sure.
And vice versa. And what I'm hearing you say is almost this concept of what I call a money date, where it's like every month or every 2 weeks, you sit down and look at what's coming in and what's going out. You do not close your eyes and then quickly pay the bills as fast as you can, so that you don't have to know what's in the accounts and what's going out. No, this is what I heard about this person. Like literally they learned without being able to look how to pay their bills, so that they never had to know the numbers. What the actual fuck? And this is someone with a lot coming in. So can you imagine the waste? Can you imagine the miss? And yet that money day, you know, when you're partnered, maybe that becomes a conversation.
Yeah.
But I think to start with yourself, you've got to know what you want to do, because you can't make any decisions without knowledge.
Yeah. If you don't know like where you're messing up, you can't fix it. And maybe you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm actually not messing up at all. I could actually be saving a little bit more. And I've seen both sides happen with like friends of mine that I've been like, well, this is what I'm doing. Let's sit down and do it together. Wow. And like one friend of mine was like, I should really stop like ordering DoorDash, or like I should get rid of some of these subscriptions that I don't use. And another was like, I'm actually doing just fine. I can breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
And like either one gives you information.
Yeah. So here's our be empowered for this episode. If you don't know, you can't grow. That's good. You could take that to the bank, literally. All right. Well, let's keep talking about this. I want to have a deeper conversation going to the next step, and I'll look forward to seeing you in episode 2.
Thanks for joining us. Now go out there and turn your success into action. Generational Growth is about helping you in every area that matters: mind, body, business, and self-care. Share this episode on social media and LinkedIn, and feel free to send us where you feel strong and where you need support.
Please note, this content is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered financial or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions. Some of the products and services mentioned may involve financial compensation or partnerships.